Are you ensuring success when promoting from within your warehouse? I'm Greg Schenkel, President of Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems. And in today's Leader Feeder, we need to look at this issue of promoting from within your warehouse. Perhaps one of the biggest myths when we're promoting from within, which, by the way, is a very good thing to do, is to promote from within. It creates this sense of progression and growth, professional growth opportunities for your people. But the myth we have is that everyone knows what's going to be required of them. After all, they've been managed by other people, led by others, so they're going to know what it takes to be a good leader. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. So remember that when they make the transition to leader, now most of those frontline leaders are impacting 80% of the workforce in most companies, and yet they only receive 20 to 30% of the development, investment, and time in order to make them effective in their role. So just think about how you're disadvantaging the frontline leaders in your organization if you're not equipping them with some of the skills that they need after you've decided to promote them. Now, when we're making these promotion decisions, instead of just looking at the technical proficiencies of the people and their abilities to hit their numbers, we really need to consider a few other areas, and I want to cover those as well. I do remember one client that had promoted 2 supervisors into their departments, mostly based on their length of service, how many years they had worked there, and also their ability to hit the numbers. And then they watched as the performance of those work groups actually deteriorated with those 2 leaders in place. And then they realized when they dug into it that the way that those leaders had been communicating with their team members had been very disrespectful. And the leaders had almost put themselves in the situation of competing with the team members that were there to generate the results. Of course, it became very dysfunctional, and the two team leaders actually had to be replaced. And they realized that just promoting people based on their technical skills and never training them on how to lead effectively was probably not the right choice. So how do you increase the success of promoting from within the warehouse? Well, I've got 3 suggestions for you. Number 1 is when you're looking at a candidate to promote, do they set a good example? And by example, I don't just mean in their technical proficiency and their ability to hit the numbers, but do they set a good example with their behavior, how they interact with other people? If they're not doing that as a coworker, what makes you think that they're going to suddenly do that when they are the team leader? Number 2 is, are they good at teaching others? We all know folks, in fact, you might even be one of them, where they're great at doing a certain task, but can they teach other people to do the task as well or better than they did? Some people are great teachers, and they may or may not have been the top performer in terms of the actual skill sets that they're teaching. So find and promote people who are good at teaching others. The third thing to look for when you're deciding who to promote within the warehouse is, do they communicate respectfully? Now, people can sometimes be overly sarcastic or cynical or negative, and you've got to ask yourself, do you want those folks creating that and propagating that through their teams, or do you want people who are good at remaining respectful and mostly positive in their communication skills? You should already see that even before you send them to any of the training that they might need. So making good promotion decisions within the warehouse usually involves making sure you've promoted people who set a good example, who they're good at teaching others, and they communicate respectfully. Now, once you've figured that out, you might decide, hey, there's more to this leadership thing than just those 3 tips. And of course, that's where we come in at Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems. We have this great frontline leadership program, which is 6 half-days of content to cover all the essential skills that your people need to be successful. And of course, that can be delivered on-site or virtually through our state-of-the-art virtual training studio. It all begins with you checking us out on our website at uniquedevelopment.com and then starting a conversation with us to see how we can partner with you to increase the effectiveness of your frontline leaders.